Yeah.
So the best thing to take vacations if you're a chiropractor and if you don't have an associate doctor. Number one, you want to do everything you can not to take a week off in your office and not have anybody come in even 3 days a week to process patients. You want to do everything you can not to shut your office down for a week. That really hurts a practice. And by the way, it really cuts into your revenue. I always say there's not a vacation you could, if you got a healthy office, there's not a vacation you can take that's going to cost you more than the money you're going to lose by not being in the office.
Yeah.
But the way you want to do the way you want to do the vacations is first take off Friday. And so you would move the Friday patients to Thursday. So if there were 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for that week, they would be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. If they were Monday and Friday twice a week, they would move to Monday and Thursday. So you'll lose very little by taking off Friday and moving those visits to Thursday. And then you get a 3-day break. So that's number one. And it's always better to take a higher number of breaks than not many breaks. But when you do take them, you take off for a week or so, or 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that. I always recommend you take off every 9 weeks. And then, and I say this because when I did this, I had the most productive year. You're always refreshed. You're always looking for the next thing, whether it's a vacation, a trip, an event, whatever. But I always say every 9 weeks, at least take off on Friday so you can leave. And what I would do is I'd leave town after work Thursday. Move all the patients 2 times a week, twice a week to the that were coming in on Friday to Thursday. That's the best scenario. You'll lose the least. It'll affect your practice the least. And it's better to take many of those than not take breaks and then shut your practice down for a week. So that's the first option. The second option is taking off Thursday and Friday. Now you at least got Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, this is if you're not going to bring somebody in just to help you out for a day. If you were, and if you do bring somebody in, I always have them only come in 3 days a week, not the whole week. And so, and a lot of times when you bring somebody in, it causes a lot of problems. If you haven't done this yet, man, there's always fires to put out when you come back. So you want somebody that's good and knows what they're doing, knows how to adjust. And a lot of times these retired chiropractors work the best because they're good adjusters. They're good with people. A lot of times they're good if you can work something. The newer guys that are doing substitute, they're usually the worst. You'll come back and there'll be all kinds of fires you got to put out. But if you're not going to have a substitute, do Friday first, then then take off Thursday and Friday. So now you have a full Monday. Now, when you do that, the people that you're seeing 3 times a week, you schedule Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for that week. And then if they're twice a week, like say on Monday and Friday or whatever, then you schedule them for Monday and Wednesday. So you can still capture a lot. And that works out real well. And then what you do is you work to the end of Wednesday. And then what I always did is I would take a flight out of town, the late flight out of town. But usually you can't go to connecting destinations. In other words, I'm on the East Coast. I usually could not go to the West Coast because it takes a whole day just to get to the West. So you lose 2 days just in travel. But if I flew out like Florida, I'm in the Midwest, I could easily take a direct flight down to Florida and fly out late on Wednesday and get there late Wednesday night. And that's a lot of, so you got to kind of think of where you're going to and how long it's going to take to get there. But that's one of the best scenarios is to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, full day, and then leave town Friday night or say Thursday morning if you need to get to your destination. And it's a direct flight. That's the best scenario. Takes the least amount of time for whatever vacation or event you're going to do. And then I recommend doing that 9 times a year, every 9 weeks, not 9 times, every 9 weeks. Just put it on, and you want to put it on the calendar. If you do not put it on the calendar, you won't take it. Chiropractors are notorious for not taking vacations and burning out, by the way. So you want to put it on the calendar no matter what. And then everybody moves around then. And you will be refreshed, I tell you. And then what you do is every 9 weeks, and then take 2 weeks off that year. Now, when you take a week off, you never want to shut your office down for a week. If you don't have an associate doctor, you at least want to bring in a substitute doctor for Monday, Wednesday, Friday of that week. But that's what I recommend, is taking off every 9 weeks, even if it's only Friday, and get out of town. Go to an event, those little mini vacations. You'll constantly be refreshed, and you'll always have something to look forward to. So you should have a list of all the things you want to do. And it might be something as simple as you want to go to all your kids' summer baseball games that are out of town, whatever. So make a list of things you want to do. Like, that's what I did. I'm like, I want to do, and then I just put them into the calendar. And they were stone. Once they go into, they're stone. Everything gets moved around it. You don't take a vacation around your practice. You put it in the calendar, and your practice revolves around your vacation schedule. That's when you're going from a position of strength, not weakness. So you do that, you're refreshed, and then in no time, you're already looking forward to and making plans for the next trip. So there's always something exciting on the horizon. That's what you want to do. So even if you only take off Friday, so it kind of depends where you're at, where your geographic location is. I've got some clients that are like in real rural areas. It's like one client, he's got to drive 2 hours just to get to an airport, and it's a regional airport. He's got to go to a major city to get anywhere. So for that client, it's a real pain to get anywhere. But anyway, that's how you want to set up your vacation, and it's fantastic. You're always refreshed. You're always looking forward to the next event. You're planning for the next event. You're looking forward to the next event, and comes around in no time. I mean, it got to be where I got tired of taking vacations. I did that, and I'm like, damn, I don't really need to take a vacation. I feel pretty good, and I've been to a lot of places that I wanted to go, and a lot of things I wanted to do. So, but that's how you want to handle vacations. Do everything you can not to shut down for a week and not have your practice handled at least part-time, 3 days a week. Do everything you can. And by the way, if you're going to shut down, what's the number one week in the year you should shut down that's going to hurt your practice the least? Between Christmas and New Year. That's when you have most people missing. They're busy doing their Christmas stuff, New Year stuff, running around. That's the week that'll hurt your practice the least if you were going to shut down for a week. Now, if I was going to shut down for a week at another time, remember, you never want to shut down for a week and not have your practice covered. But if you were, then wrap it around a holiday, because people aren't going to come in on the Monday or Friday of a holiday, 4th of July, the ones that are on that Monday, something like that. Now they'd already missed that day anyway. So you've already built in less loss, so to speak. But that's what I'm always thinking. I'm thinking of the practice, because remember, and I say this all the time, you take care of the practice and the practice takes care of you. Unfortunately, most chiropractors don't do that. They'll do whatever hours they want. They won't even consider industrial hours. They won't even consider it. And they wonder why they don't have much of a practice. So I'm like, no, you take care of the practice, and then that practice takes care of you and your family.